Let's talk Manchester United then. Now, Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, Roy Keane, bloke I saw in the corner shop the other day, all saying United need a new keeper. Are they going to get one?
Easier said than done, Mike. It's going to be difficult to get a deal done to bring a new goalkeeper in at Manchester United with we're now officially less than 2 weeks left in this transfer window, aren't we?
Is the timing the issue?
It's partly that, but also, does Ruben Amorim want a new goalkeeper? So you've got a situation here. There was talk earlier in this transfer window when there were doubts, major doubts over Andre Onana's future. He then got injured during pre-season. So effectively ruled him out of a move because he was injured. So he was going to be out until the start of the season, people thought. So he wasn't going to get much of a pre-season in. And publicly at least, Ruben Amorim has said that he is backing the three goalkeepers that he's got. Andre Onana, Altay Bayindir and Tom Heaton. Now, there was lots of conjecture yesterday when the team was announced for Manchester United's game against Arsenal and the squad was announced. Andre Onana nowhere to be seen. They interviewed Ruben Amorim before the game. Why isn't he there? Well, is he injured? Is he not fit? No, he's fit. So everyone assumed that Andre Onana had been dropped. He played that down later simply by saying, look, he's hardly had any training time, he's hardly had any game time, and that's why he chose Altay Bayindir ahead of him yesterday. Now, if an offer in these last 2 weeks was to come in for an offer that Manchester United maybe couldn't refuse, then there's the possibility that they would try and see if there's a keeper available that they can bring in. But at the moment, it would be very, very difficult because there's been no offers for Andre Onana and there's no sign at this stage that Andre Onana wants to leave Manchester United anyway.
There's quite a good goalkeeper hanging around available. Donnarumma, why don't they just buy him?
Good question. I mean, arguably he's the best goalkeeper in the world at the moment. PSG have made it clear that they are going to sell him in the next 2 weeks. Having said that, even though he's only got a year left on his contract, PSG is still looking for around 40 to 50 million euros. So that is around 40 million pounds. Now, he's also on big wages. The information we have is that Manchester United, Manchester City have not been in contact with his representatives. Now, potentially that could change, as Dharmesh said. If United were to sell Onana, then potentially maybe they'd pick up the phone and contact Donnarumma's representatives. But even then, it'd be very, very complicated because there's the big transfer fee and there's his big wages as well. And you'd have to convince him, I think in United's case, to move to Manchester United because he wouldn't have any European football. And he's going from the Champions League champions. That wouldn't be a case at City. But of course, City would also need to sell somebody like Ederson, but they've just signed a very, very good goalkeeper as well. So I hear what people are saying about Donnarumma. He's available. Why doesn't somebody go out and sign him? It's not quite as simple as that.
I'm going to use the B word, brinkmanship. It was less than 2 weeks to go. I think PSG and Gianluigi Donnarumma are probably looking at each other and just having a staring contest. Who's going to blink first here? Simply because PSG, on one side of it, know that Gianluigi Donnarumma needs to play because there's a World Cup next summer. Whereas Gianluigi Donnarumma is thinking, I'm not going to rush anywhere until the project is right. And PSG, he knows PSG want to sell him. So the later this goes in the transfer window, could there be a situation where you get into the final few days and there's a situation where PSG think, we're not going to get the big transfer fee that we wanted. He's only got a year left on his contract. But if we even loan him for this season or even let him go for free in this transfer window, we actually end up getting rid of the wages as well, because you're looking at 15 to 17 million pounds of a saving that they'll make rather than the other bit of brinkmanship where they don't do a deal for him. He'll be the number 2 goalkeeper. He won't play, and yet he'll be paid this huge wage.
Where's your gut? What do you think will happen?
I think he'll go. I think a few things still have to happen, though. Particularly, we keep hearing about Manchester City, and there's this interest from Galatasaray in Ederson. Now, if that one wants to come to fruition, there is a chance that Manchester City might approach PSG and Gianluigi Donnarumma's representatives. But as Carve said there hasn't been any approach to his representatives at this stage. That's because the two clubs that we keep talking about, the two Manchester clubs, have still got a full complement of goalkeepers in their department. So until that changes, Donnarumma is not going to go to either of those clubs. But the closer we get to the end of the window, because over the weekend, I think a lot of eyes were on the Manchester City squad as well. And Ederson had a stomach bug. That's why he missed that game. Then you've also got to think about what James Trafford must be thinking. He starts the game, he thinks he's the number one, and then if they suddenly go for Gianluigi Donnarumma, where does that leave him?
Manchester United are now being linked with the move for the Sporting CP midfielder Morten Holmand, especially after they have missed out on Carlos Baleba from Brighton. They were keen on signing Baleba from the Premier League club, but Brighton are unwilling to sanction his departure this summer. Manchester United are now expected to return for him next year. Speaking on the Holmand situation, Fabrizio Romano has revealed that the player is appreciated by Ruben Amorim, and he is interested in the move. However, the deal will be difficult to get across the line because Sporting CP are not keen on losing key players anymore. They have already sanctioned the departure of Victor Gyökeres to Arsenal, and they are hoping to hold on to the 26-year-old midfielder. Manchester United are yet to initiate talks with the Portuguese club regarding the midfielder, and it seems that the deal might not happen this summer. Romano said on YouTube, "He's a player who has always been appreciated by Amorim. Sporting don't want to sell other top players after losing Victor Gyökeres this summer, so it would be a tough and difficult deal to do." Holmand will be interested in a move to Manchester United, but Sporting need to be respected. Sporting want to keep the player, and so it will not be an easy one. Let's see what Man United will decide to do. Manchester United need a quality midfielder who will help out defensively and help them control the game. There is no doubt that the 26-year-old Sporting CP midfielder would have been a quality acquisition for them. However, a deal seems unlikely at this stage. It remains to be seen whether they decide to wait until 2026 to bring in a quality midfielder. They have improved the attacking unit substantially, but they need to add more quality in the midfield and defence as well. 3 Champions League clubs decided against moving for Manchester United outcast Alejandro Garnacho this summer. Arsenal, Tottenham Hotspur and Atletico Madrid all did due diligence on Garnacho before deciding to explore other options to reinforce their attack. Spurs and Arsenal are interested in signing Crystal Palace talisman Eberechi Eze, and Arsenal have already recruited winger Noni Madueke from Chelsea. Spurs have held discussions about potentially buying Savigno from Manchester City. Atletico, Garnacho's former club, gave consideration to re-signing the Argentina international but bought fellow winger Alex Bina from Villarreal. Chelsea remained the front-runners to sign Garnacho. Garnacho's agents, Carlos Cambero and Enrique de Lucas, visited Chelsea during the January transfer window, and de Lucas played for the Club World Cup winners in the 2002-2003 season. United head coach Ruben Amorim told Garnacho he could leave in May. Amorim was unhappy that Garnacho, 22, cast doubt on his future and complained about his demotion to the bench in the immediate aftermath of the Europa League final defeat to Tottenham. Garnacho and Marcus Rashford were dropped by Amorim in only his 7th match in charge at Manchester City on December 15th. Amorim was unhappy at how inattentive Garnacho was as he prepared to come on against Victoria Plzen in the Europa League 3 days earlier. "I think, with Garnacho, you can understand and you can see, he's a really talented boy," Amorim said last month. "And sometimes things don't work out. You cannot explain specifically what it is. But I have the feeling, I think it's clear that Garnacho wants a different thing with a different leadership. And I can understand that. So I think it's not a problem. Sometimes you adapt to one guy. You have the connection. Other times, you want a new challenge. So, we try to make everything okay to all the parts. To the club, to the coach and to the players. So, it's a natural thing in football." Garnacho paid for a team dinner by way of apology after he headed straight down the tunnel following his first-half substitution in the home defeat of Ipswich Town in February. After United returned from their post-season tour of Kuala Lumpur and Hong Kong, Garnacho posted an Instagram story celebrating his return from the 6-day jaunt. A month later, Garnacho donned an Aston Villa shirt with Rashford's name on it and posted it on his Instagram account. United sources have acknowledged Garnacho's brother, Roberto, has also caused commotion with several social media outbursts. Garnacho did not travel on United's pre-season tour of the United States amid his wish to leave, and he has been told to report for training at separate times to the first-team squad at the club's Carrington complex. Since United signed Garnacho from Atletico Madrid's academy in 2020, He has made 144 appearances and scored 28 goals. Garnacho decided United's FA Youth Cup triumph against Nottingham Forest in 2022, and he was on the scoresheet against Manchester City in the FA Cup final in 2024. After Garnacho made his first-team debut under Ralf Rangnick in April 2022, he was named in Erik ten Hag's pre-season tour squad that summer. Ten Hag did not play Garnacho in any of United's 4 tour friendlies after he was late for a team meeting. Garnacho had actually reported for pre-season earlier than expected that summer, having represented Argentina in the Toulon tournament. He made his full United debut against FC Sheriff in the Europa League in October 2022.